Here's a view from the outside. I've got to get my line sets to come out right down between this pillar and this gutter. The measurement is 34.5 inches from the edge of the window over. I'm going to double check that so I don't drill a hole into the gutter or this pillar here. Welcome back, everybody. You're watching the #1 home improvement YouTube channel in the entire world. This video is going to be detailed instructions on how I install a mini split air conditioner. There's a little bit of confusion about how these things work and how technical they are to install. I'm from the side that says they are very, very easy, and they are basically just one step up above a modern window unit. That's what I have right here. This is a modern U-shaped window unit. I brought this out here because I thought it would be an easy way to explain how these air conditioners work. You have your inside unit, which is on this side of the window, and you have your outside unit that's on that side of the window. On a mini split, they're commonly called a head unit, or the head of the system, and you have your condenser outside. Now this little section down here at the bottom is where the head unit is connected to your condenser. They're connected by these flexible pipes called line sets. In this unit right here, they're very short. The only difference between this and a mini split is they're long. They're 16 feet long, and we'll talk more about that 16-foot number later on in the video. If you can hang a picture on a wall, you can install the interior portion of a mini split. Put the bracket on the wall, make sure it's level. I try to hit at least one stud and then use some drywall anchors. It's not very heavy. It doesn't have a lot of vibrations. So when you drill the hole in the side of your house, that can be a little unnerving. I use a hole saw that's probably about 2.5, 3 inches that easily fits the 2 line sets, the drain tube, and one of the cords. We're going to talk more about the electricity in a few minutes. I always do a pilot hole through the drywall from the inside. All right, not bad. Pretty much centered on that gap there. It's going to get a big cover like that that's going to cover the whole entire thing. And then go to the outside of the siding and drill in. How you make up your electrical connections on the head unit itself depends on if it's a 220 unit or a 110 unit. We don't call it 220 anymore. We gave that up. Yeah, was it the 50s that we switched? For some reason, men still like to call 220 volts. 240 is the proper number here in the United States of America. You just follow the directions, very simple. Feeds through the back, up into the cover plate, make your connections, then bundle up that cable with the line sets that get stubbed out through the exterior wall of your house. Well, there is a full dedicated video installing the electricity for this mini split. From the breaker to the disconnect to the actual outdoor unit, you got to go over to Patreon to see that. Here's a little preview. So the mouse situation isn't over. I thought I may have gotten lucky, but I just popped those staples loose and mouse poop started coming out. Well, my measurement was perfect to find my route up to. Oh, that's broken. There will be a link in the top of the description and in the first pinned comment.
We can hear that. That's the nitrogen that's pressurized the indoor head. Just have this cracked open. You gotta hear that sound. There we go. Let's put that on for a second. We get this one off. I need a wrench on this because the small line is so weak and flexible. Just to get this plastic cap off, you got to make sure you're holding this with a wrench. Nylog blue. Knock on with some fake wood. I've never had a leak anywhere in these mini splits. And I always put the nylog glue on the mating surfaces, not the threads. You want to take a good look at the mating surfaces so that it's in perfect position when you thread this on, so that it's already in alignment. You don't have to worry about the threads and this compression nut trying to get everything lined up. You don't want to get too crazy with this.
These wall brackets are some of the best I've used when installing these mini splits. These happen to be from Turbro, and they got sent out by Toso. So I'm sure these companies are somehow, working together back in China. Your unit is going to come with cords like this. You can just put a cord end on the end of these and plug them into an outlet. Just like this one here. This happens to be for my 240 volt, 3 horsepower table saw. Just a cord end, you plug it into the wall, turn it on. Piece of cake.
Just over 1,000 psi left in my bottle. I'm gonna go put you up to the other gauges so you can watch the pressure going in. But watch this one. We're gonna start with around 50. Make sure there's no big holes or leaks, and then I'll go all the way up to like 300. We gotta open this up. What this is pressurizing is this line set goes all the way up in through the head unit and comes down and stops right here. It's not testing what's inside of here. This here comes with all the refrigerant in it. There's 300 on the bottle. I'm going to close this down. This takes my refrigerant bottle out of the loop. Get you real close. Show where I'm kind of looking. That needle is just above the pink. I probably should have put in a little bit more so that it's really easy to monitor that needle. Put a little more pressure in it so it's right at that pink line. That's how you can, it's real easy to tell, come back in a half an hour if it's going down. So it's dead even with the pink, and I can keep an eye on it. I'm on my way to my first parts run. Made it through the whole process down to the very end, and condensation drain tube is not long enough to make it all the way underneath the deck, so I got to run over to the hardware store and get a 5-foot extension. A lot of people have been asking me, how do you keep track of all this work, all these different customers? It seems like you're bouncing around like a pinball machine, and I feel like that sometimes too. The main thing I use is an app called Jobber for my scheduling and keeping track of all my customers and what I have to do for those customers. I also have a massive dry erase board. I think it's 4 feet by like 6 feet in my house, and it's impossible to not see it. So I'm constantly looking at it multiple times a day. If I remember something, I'll go put it on the whiteboard and then transfer it into my calendar on Jobber. Put a link for that app, Jobber, down in the description. All the electrical is done here. This is the cord that comes with the unit. This is the signal and power going back to the inside. This here is the whip. I'll show you the other end of this. I think I did it on camera. This just goes line to line and ground. Well, our pressure hasn't budged, hasn't moved a millimeter. Okay, screw this sucker back on, and now we got to start sucking. So take note of where that is, just above 0. There might be a little bit of pressure in there. We're going to suck it right on out now, though. Open this up all the way. And see all that vapor? Right there, see all the vapor? And we're going to suck this sucker down for, well, probably till dark. I'm going to go hook the breaker up and do all that business inside. That we're on that vacuum there. Negative pressure. Okay, we're just going to open this up a hair till we get positive pressure, disconnect this all, and then positive pressure.
So one of the most confusing parts of these mini split videos in these tutorials that are all over the internet is, where does the refrigerant come from? This is an R410A refrigerant mini split system. The refrigerant is inside the outdoor unit. There is a certain amount of refrigerant that is shipped with the outside condenser. You open up the refrigerant with an Allen wrench, and that releases the refrigerant into your line sets, up into the head unit, and back.
So everything is hooked up. The disconnect is all wired up, and the disconnect part is actually in to on. So the next step is just go flip the breaker, turn the breaker to on. Then we'll head inside and make sure it works.
So what brand should you go with? I have my longest experience with Tosot or Two-Suit. I've got one right here in the workshop up on the wall. It was my very first install. It's way easier than I thought it was. I thought you had to have some expertise. You had to have some high-level training to install a mini split. Like I said, if you can hang a picture on the wall and you can change a tire, you can install a mini split.
Air coming out of there. That'll expand. This seam here, you got to make sure this is all covered up, or it'll condense and you'll get water. So I'm going to get this wrapped up. There's the finished product. That's it for this video. Another one is in the books. $3,700 for this one. I'll leave a link for the TOSOT, T-O-S-O-T, 12,000 BTU down in the description. If you got questions, contact me on Patreon. If you want to see all the electrical, that'll be on Patreon. You don't want to miss it. I was crawling through elbow deep of mouse poop. I probably caught a disease.